You've probably heard that blue light from screens can mess with your sleep. But what if I told you that just a few hours of it, especially at night, could also be wrecking your metabolism and even potentially raising your risk for certain types of cancer? Two studies today that I'm going to share, surprisingly underdiscussed, paint a rather sobering picture. One of these is going to be from Northwestern University that shows that short bursts of blue enriched light at the wrong time can spike your blood sugar and insulin levels. And the other, it's a global analysis of 158 countries that's linking nighttime artificial light to increased cancer rates. Now, this episode isn't just about sleep hygiene, and it's not meant to make you an alarmist or make you paranoid. It's about awareness of something that may be contributing to society's growing struggles with our health, our performance, our energy, and our human potential. Welcome, I'm Julian Hayes II, founder of Executive Health, where the mission is to help you operate with world-class health and performance so you can lead powerfully for decades and make a deeper impact with your family, your community, and of course, your business. Now, I want us to zoom out for a second and let's look at human history. For most of it, our only light sources were from the sun, fire, and the moon. And after sunset, things came to a halt. Darkness signaled to our bodies that it's time to shift some gears. We had melatonin rise even more, and we'll talk about that later. We had cortisol dropped, we had metabolism slow a little bit, and our repair system started to kick in. However, life has advanced, technology has advanced, and so now, thanks to modern tech, we can work whenever we want. We can keep working as long as we want. We can keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and the algorithms will keep refreshing and showing us more long after sunset. We're no longer governed by the sun, and this is convenient, but it's not necessarily healthy. At nighttime now, we're flooded with artificial light, especially blue enriched light from LEDs, screens, and overhead lighting. Now, this doesn't just confuse our circadian rhythm. It throws off everything. The hormones, our blood sugar, our appetite, our cognition, and even how our cells are going to repair themselves. Now, before going into these studies, I have to say, this is not medical advice, okay? This is educational. Maybe it's thought-provoking. I hope it is if you haven't heard of some of this stuff. Hopefully, it makes a spark for further exploration. But this is not a healthcare relationship. Go seek one. I'm not a doctor. Barely wanted to play one for a year, just to get that out there. Now, let's go into the very first study that I want to share here. And let me pull this up here. And what we have here is a study. In the first study here, researchers took 19 healthy adults, and they exposed them to 3 hours of blue enriched light. Either in the morning or the evening. And they monitor blood glucose, their insulin, the hunger, and their alertness. And here are some of the interesting things that are found. And I can share both of the studies I'm going to share. I can have a link to them, or maybe I'll do a link to those in the comments. But in both of these groups here, they had increased insulin resistance after light exposure. Okay. But in the evening time, this is where it gets interesting, at least to me. Blood glucose spikes significantly higher, even though the meals and the sleep were tightly controlled. Now, overall alertness, it increased as well. And this sounds good, but at nighttime, that's actually a red flag. It means your body's being artificially stimulated when it's supposed to be winding down. So what does all this mean that I just went through? Simply put, a few hours of blue light in the evening is going to blunt your ability to handle carbohydrates over time, which could lead to more insulin resistance, weight gain, or stubborn weight that you can't get off, and a whole array of cascades of metabolic dysfunction. So it's not just what you eat. It's also when and how your body is primed to handle it. And this means that we need to elevate our light discipline higher on the list of our health priorities. Now, the second study here that I'm going to share, and let me get this one out. I'm going to stop and let's share this one here. Let me work on my tech habits here. And let's see here. There we go. Okay, so this study here is from the Asian Pacific Journal of Cancer Prevention. And here, let me make it bigger for everyone. Okay, now you all can see that. And so this study, as I mentioned at the beginning, the study is kind of wild. At least it was wild to me. So as I mentioned, Asian Pacific Journal of Cancer Prevention, researchers analyzed 158 countries, and they compared their artificial nighttime light exposure with cancer rates. And they used two measures. The first one was a PALI, which stands for Protected Area Light Pollution, which simply means direct light is hitting the natural spaces. And the next one is the PAHI, which is human influence nearby. And this is light spilling in from surrounding urban areas around us. And so the results here was a higher artificial light exposure were strongly correlated with higher rates of breast cancer, colorectal cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. And in some cases, up to 35% of the variance in cancer rates was explained by this light exposure. That's not a small signal. That's like a blaring warning sign, a huge one, right? That's a huge number. Now, what's causing this? Well, we can't know definitively, right? There's so many variables when it comes to this. But there's one major suspect that people would probably gravitate to. It's probably an easy one for most of us to grasp. It's something that we've all heard of, and that's melatonin. You know, melatonin is not just a sleep hormone. It's not just associated with darkness. It's much more than that. It's a powerful antioxidant, one of the most powerful. It's a regulator of cell growth. It's a key player in our immune functioning. And when we have this artificial nighttime light, it's suppressing the melatonin. And so we're increasing our risk for DNA damage, immune dysfunction, and over time, possibly even tumor formation, going by what this study showed. And so the conclusion that I got from this, from the researchers, and actually I should say, this is not what I got from them. This is what they shared at the end of this study, which you'll be able to see. And this is verbatim of what they said. Artificial light at night is significantly correlated for all forms of cancer. Immediate measures should be taken to limit artificial light at night in the main cities around the world and also inside houses. That's a pretty big statement right there. Now, what does this mean for us, right? This can make you paranoid, right? When you hear these types of things. Now, perhaps you're not going to like camp in a wildlife reservoir under a floodlight, but we have to be honest with ourselves. We are constantly surrounded by artificial light. We have our phones. I have one. We have our laptops. I have one. We have overhead LEDs. I'm around them a lot. We have kitchen lights at times. We have TV screens, and we even have bright bathroom lights before bed. So there's a lot of things that has artificial lighting. There's a lot of things, of course, that we can do, but just in our default setting, it's easy to see that our environment is not conducive to optimal health. And I think we knew that our default environments were not conducive to optimal health. I think we already knew that from a standpoint of nutrition and food. We hear that all the time. But something like light is something that's not discussed, but perhaps it should be more, judging by the research here, judging by how light can govern our behaviors And so if you're a high performer, you're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, you're an exec, you're someone who's burning the midnight oil, right? You're doing this every single night, perhaps. Doing this is not just making it harder to fall asleep. You're not just sacrificing quality sleep to do this. By doing this, you're also priming your body for poor glucose regulation, for hormonal chaos, mood instability, and potentially increased long-term disease risk of various facets. Now, that sounds like a lot of bad news, but there's some good news, I promise. And you don't need to live in a cave to fix this. So there's a laundry list of things you could do, but I figure this is like an introductory episode to this. I don't think I've discussed this on a solo episode on the podcast, which I found hard to believe, but I haven't. The first thing is to start an audit and look at your default environment right now and dim your environment 2 to 3 hours before bed. Ideally, this is going to line up with sunset, right? Unless you're on this asinine daylight saving time like I am. And it's absolute asinine. It's terrible. It makes no sense if we're honest, if we're just looking about this, right? We need brighter days. We need darker nights. We need to end this absurd daylight saving time and just stay on permanent standard time. It doesn't matter that people want a few extra hours in the evening to go do whatever. It goes against our biology. But I'm going to stop my rant on this. The next thing, after dimming your environment 2 to 3 hours before bed, look into using amber or red light bulbs. And smart bulbs help too, but preferably amber or red light bulbs. The next thing is on your computer screens. I have one around right now. I've used it for years. And that is installing some sort of blue light filter on your screens. This is like F-Lux is an easy one to use. Iris is another one. Our phones have a night shift mode, I believe. I think I have that on my phone. You can also go through the settings and the color. I don't remember how to do it. And you can make your phone red and pretty much lose that stimulating blue glaring light that's coming back at you if you want to do that as well. And the next thing is to wear blue blocking glasses in the evening. Look, people may joke, but they work. So I have a pair here. These are my red ones, right? And I broke these, but they still work and I love them. So you put these on here, right? I think they look cool. They wrap around. Yeah, I think they look cool. These are the ones I use in the evenings and after pretty much when it's getting dark. The reason why I go for adding like the red one is because the red ones are going to block out all the blue light and also all of the green light. You've probably seen some other ones. You've probably seen an orange tinted one that is blocking out blue light. And I use these earlier in the evening. You use these in daytime, and maybe you're around a bunch of junk light, or maybe you're on your screens all the time, and you can use it then for that. There's some clearer ones. Those are not really doing too much. I have a pair I don't want it to dry them out, but they're not really doing too much. So I think a red pair, if I keep these on for a while, I will noticeably feel my eyes like the strain is down because you don't have all this different lighting at you, right? And so I put these things on and I start to feel fatigue. So you definitely can't work a long time with these glasses on. You start to feel it. And so I'm going to keep these on the rest of the episode, though, I think. So the next thing is to get early morning sunlight. Ideally, 30 minutes to an hour upon waking of doing this. And I guess let's do actually more thing. For me, I look at this as where I'm located right now. I'm in Nashville, and sunrise is around 6:15-ish, I think, typically right now. And so I like to get my exposure between that time and let's say 8:30. At least while the sun is still rising is the best time. You're getting the full spectrum of light. And I like to aim for 20 to 25 minutes. I would probably steer more toward 25 minutes, preferably for people to do. At this time, I do my runs. So like this morning, I did a 7-mile run in the morning during that time in the morning, and also um, no wear as less clothing, less items as possible, right? So if it's remotely warm for me, I'm not wearing a shirt. My shorts are shorter so I can have just as much skin exposed as possible for the sun. And so no sunglasses, no hats, minimal clothing, as I said. And this may be controversial to some people, but no sunscreen. But that's a whole rabbit hole to go down. There's a lot of research on that. But yeah, no sunscreen. There's different supplements and stuff like that. So why do we talk about all this stuff, right? And we're going to tie this back around, because remember when I said earlier that what most people think about melatonin is maybe 5% of the whole piece of the puzzle when it comes to melatonin. Our melatonin production actually starts in the morning. And this is part of anchoring your circadian rhythm. So this early morning sunlight exposure that we're getting, you're not just improving your sleep. You're helping every single hormone, every cell, every protein, every enzyme, every peptide, and your mitochondria. All of these things to work better, to work in alignment as it's supposed to be biologically, and as it has been for millennia. Now, I know some people, well, Julian, I can't get outside. Open your windows. If you can't get outside, you got to immediately leave the house to get somewhere, to get to work or whatever. Then open your windows in the car, and get the full spectrum of light in. Let that natural light in. A lot of our windows, light's coming in, but the whole spectrum's not coming in. So that's the issue with that. And so I would say the bottom line of this, start being aware of your light exposure. We're so cognizant now of our food, of our sleep, our exercising, putting on muscle, all these different things, right? But the funny thing is, light is the governor, and it's pretty much controlling all those other aspects. All those other aspects are going to improve from improving our relationship with light. Light is a biological input, and so we have to treat it like one. And so it's easy to overlook this. It may even be hard to believe because you don't see a lot of these things, right? Where I can see the food, I can feel the effects of sleep, perhaps. I can see the training, but light, maybe not so much. So as we land this ship here, we live in a world now where it never turns off. It never turns off. We don't have to turn it off. We can keep working all day if we want to. But our biology hasn't changed. So times have changed. Technology has evolved and changed. Priorities have changed. Culture has changed. You go down a list, everything has changed on there. But our biology hasn't changed, and we cannot fight that. And light, once a natural signal of our time, of our rhythm, it's now something that we have to consciously manage more. We have to be more cognizant of it. Because even if you eat clean, you're training hard, you're avoiding seed oils, when you ignore your light environment, you could silently still be undermining your metabolism, your mood, your sleep, and your long-term health and performance. So before you fire off on that late night email, binge that next episode under bright LEDs, well, firstly, get some pair of glasses like this or something to at least mitigate it, right? But also a bigger question to start asking when we think about this is, it's a random question to ask. What is this light costing me? What is the light costing me? What is me ignoring the natural biological rhythms of life? What is it costing me? We talk about malnutrition a lot, but there's another word I believe is called malillumination. And a lot of us are deficient in sunlight. A lot of us are neglecting light. So just perhaps try something different. And I think you'll be surprised at the results. And they'll start coming soon. So if this resonated, though, I want you to hit like. I want you to subscribe if you haven't already. And I want you to share it with someone who needs to hear something like this. And until next time, take care of your light, and it'll take care of you.